shrink during the first quarter, and that will be the very first time that has happened in more than a decade. And if the coronavirus outbreak continues to intensify in the months ahead, the economic consequences are going to be absolutely catastrophic. And it goes on to say Japan had raised their sales tax. That has led to a decrease in spending. And now that they too have gotten hit by the coronavirus, they have dealt with some of the repercussions of this trade war as well between the United States and China. And again, obviously, things in China are not remotely good. From golfnews.com, China car sales collapsed by a staggering 92% due to coronavirus. There was barely anybody at car dealers in the first week of February in China. And again, China, the world's biggest auto market. So, 4,909 vehicles sold in the first 16 days of February, down from 59,930 in the same period last year. Very few dealerships opened in the first weeks of February, and they had very little customer traffic. It says China's auto market is likely to see sales slide more than 10% in the first half of the year due to the epidemic, and around 5% for the whole year if the virus is not contained before April. You also have the automobile manufacturers from RussiaToday.com. Global car makers lose nearly 6 million daily for each plant shut down in Wuhan, according to the media. This includes Honda, Nissan, General Motors, Renault, losing around $5.69 million per day, according to the Chinese state media. Again, Wuhan is one of China's major auto hubs, hosting American, European, and Japanese car makers. In 2018, more than 1.7 million units of vehicles valued around 400 billion yen, 57 billion American dollars, rolled off the production lines in this city. As Wuhan has been on lockdown since late January, the facilities operating there and in neighboring areas had to put off the restart of production beyond an extended Lunar New Year break. The Hubei-based companies won't be allowed to resume operations before March 11th, and even if the restrictions in the epidemic hit area are not further prolonged, it will take foreign car makers several more weeks to get back to normal. And as a result, they are maybe pushing global producers to look for backup suppliers, for example, India or Thailand. Of course, they're saying this coronavirus is spreading around the globe, or working its way around the globe now. It's hit Italy, it's hit South Korea, it's hit Iran, and obviously we have cases now here in the United States. There's cases, I believe, in Great Britain. There's cases in Canada. So it is, and again, this hit at a time, the Chinese New Year, in which they had a huge number of people visiting China because of that, and then leaving China afterwards. This from let me pull this up and hit on this as much as I can from Zero Hedge. And I mentioned on my own Facebook page that while in this country we're worried about, is Bernie Sanders going to get the nomination? Will I don't know if anybody thinks Joe Biden will at this point, but is Crazy Bernie going to get it? Is Michael Bloomberg somehow going to get it? Believe it or not, and I posted about this, you got these people out there still digging Hillary out of the mothballs yet again, saying that she's somehow going to be the nominee at the convention, and it's going to be a brokered convention. They're going to nominate Hillary with Michael Bloomberg's help. While too many people are worried about all of that nonsense and whether or not, is Donald Trump going to, no, he's going to win by a landslide. Folks, the world's second largest economy, based on this anyway, might be on the verge of almost total collapse. I don't know. Does that make a bigger impact than who's going to be president of the United States worldwide, you think, in this day and age? From Zero Hedge, it will be really, really bad. China faces financial Armageddon with 85% of businesses set to run out of cash in 3 months. For the past 2 weeks, even as the market took delight in China's doctored and fabricated numbers showing that coronavirus spread was slowing, Tyler Durden, Zero Hedge, we warned again and again that not only was this not the case, which recent data out of South Korea, Japan, and now Italy has confirmed, but that for all its assertions to the contrary, China's workers simply refuse to go back to work, even with Foxconn offering its workers extra bonuses just to return to the factory, and as a result, the domestic economy had ground to a halt. Unfortunately, it's not getting any better, and they have some charts here. It's getting worse. China is now fighting against time to reboot its economy, and the longer the paralysis continues, the more dire the outcome for both China's banks and local companies. Chinese businesses, while China's giant state-owned SOEs will likely have enough of a liquidity lifeblood to last them for 2 to 3 quarters, it is the country's small businesses that are facing a head-on collision with an iceberg because, according to the Nikkei, over 85% of small businesses, which employ 80% of China's population, expect to run out of cash within 3 months, and a third expect the cash to be all gone within 1 month. Should this happen, not only will China's economy collapse, but China's $40 trillion financial system will disintegrate as it is suddenly flooded with trillions in bad loans. And again, talking about an economy that already had been hurt, or this individual who has an aluminum facade panel factory, who was already hurt by the 25% tariff on aluminum products. Now there's production constraints that will give American consumers another reason to cancel orders and switch to Southeast Asian suppliers. He says the virus is making a bad situation worse. The same double blow is hitting small and mid-sized enterprises across China, prompting a growing chorus of calls for the government to step in and offer lifelines. These smaller employers account for 99.8% of registered companies in China and employ 79.4% of workers, according to the latest official statistics. They contribute more than 60% of GDP, and for the government, more than 50% of tax revenue. In short, they are, these small businesses, the beating heart of China's economy. 1/3 of respondents in a survey said that the outbreak of the coronavirus is likely to cut into their full year revenue by more than 50%. And again, this affects supply chain. Employers need to pay landlords, workers, suppliers, and creditors. After the Chinese New Year this year, about 25% of people returned to work. Last year, 93% were back on the job. And again, they're basically asking the government to save them, essentially, because people have just simply refused to go back to work. And of course, they have so many people in so many cities that are quarantined off. And folks, I don't know, there's so much conflicting information out there. I don't know if it's literally tens of thousands of people in hospitals. I don't know if it's if the number of dead is actually more like 30,000 or whatever it is some people are claiming in China. I don't know. Neither do they who are claiming that. Neither, obviously, I would say. I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but neither do you. But what does seem to be going on here is the Chinese economy, if we can take this as fact, and it certainly seems to be sourced, referenced, the Chinese economy is on the verge of collapse. And by the way, how many products do we get from China? I work in an auto parts store, and I can tell you for an auto parts store, and I can tell you practically, I think all of our rotors come from China, are made in China. I know on the one brand they are. Probably, I think we got 2 brands of rotors in our store. Probably both brands are manufactured in China. A lot of other parts are manufactured in China. Some are manufactured, of course, in Mexico. We were looking one day, we found some oddballs, like some stuff actually manufactured in Israel, some stuff manufactured in Poland. But there is a lot, obviously, and not just our store, not just the automotive industry. I mean, obviously clothing, a lot that we import from China. And 85% of small businesses which employ, again, 85% of small businesses which employ about 80% of the population, worried that they're going to run out of money in 3 months. One-third of them, one-third of that, or basically one-third of the small businesses, convinced that they'll run out of money if things don't change for the better, or if something isn't done, that they'll run out of money in a month. So again, I ask, is that a little more important, a little more vital than who's going to win the presidential election? I don't have time to get into all this. Investment watch, coronavirus is about to trigger a global economic crisis, and the public doesn't care because the media won't publicize it. Now, this individual, again, saying that this is much more severe than the flu. They're saying that it's actually much worse. And again, I don't know if their information is accurate or not. That's the tough thing here. But we know, I believe we can say we know, that it's affecting the Chinese economy in a major way, that it's affected the Hong Kong economy, along with the protest, in a major way, that it may start to affect the Japanese economy in a major way. And again, when we're all trading with each other, tariffs or no tariffs, tit for tat, tariff and trade war or not, phase 1 deal or not, just when we're all trading with each other, importing, exporting, it's going to affect all of us. And by the way, what do we have still going on in this country? Massive debt. Massive debt. Again, some of the things that are out there, record. In the subprime credit card, subprime meaning those people who actually don't have very good credit, subprime credit card delinquencies spiking to a record high. Subprime auto loan delinquencies, again, at a record high. And I referenced this on the Facebook page earlier, that those who are well off or are pretty well, doing pretty well, they don't really have the delinquencies. But the people who are working, they're out there, they're trying, but they're getting buried. They're getting destroyed. They can't make their credit card payments. They can't make their auto loan payments. We're coming to a very, very critical time. And again, you can have your nose stuck in politics and political parties, or you can take a look around at what's going on in the world. And it never hurts to prepare, and it never hurts to do what you need to protect yourself and your family. But above all else, understand, just like I said, that oil and that wine, lean on Him, lean on God. Be in His will, and you will be taken care of. But pay attention to things that are going on in this world with the economy and with other things as well. This has been Jason Hawes, American Faith Today. Take care. God bless. Be safe.